Once you taste love, it's like addiction, hard to release. With a clenched fist and a red face, he shouted at me, believing fools can't replenish blood by drinking it. After scolding me, he turned, ran upstairs, and slammed the door open. My foster mother helped me to sit on the sofa. I fetched the medicine box. He went upstairs. The master bedroom and living room doors were knocked on. I opened the door, and two people standing there froze my tears like ice. Unlike my birth parents and me in a daze, they were very excited, squeezing out. Holding my hand tightly, we finally found you. With red eyes, my birth mother excitedly touched my clothes and face, taunting, why so pale? Tears? Have they not treated you well? Mom never thought she would find you again. My eyes darted between them, oddly. Right now, my heart is racing. It's not the joy of long-lost reunion, but the panic of an unexpected meeting. After finishing his last cigarette, my biological father flicked the butt aside and pulled me out, saying, let's go back, no more nonsense. Mom, I heard that we could each receive $20,000 for coming home together. With that money, our family won't be separated again. We must go. Dragged outside, I held onto the doorframe tightly as the paper ball that stops bleeding dropped, fresh blood gushing and flowing down like a snake. My dad couldn't resist the four hands, and I felt my heart sink in panic. Maybe this is when the magic fades. The fairy tale ending turns out to be a mere illusion that fades away when reality kicks in. Watching, about to be dragged away, as footsteps approach from upstairs. Holding the medicine box, under the warm light, we stood staring coldly, as if all fears turned into me. Unfamiliar emotions surged, almost instinctively whispering, Mom. My stepmother stepped forward sharply and asked, are you all blind? His hand is bleeding, didn't you see? Birth father didn't care, just a scratch, so what? Birth mother picked up dirty paper, placed it in my hand, and headed home. They are taking me to my foster mother. The thin but strong hand tightly grips my wrist. He coldly said, if you don't want to talk, then take me away. He is not a stray cat or dog, and you were paid initially. I was startled. Feeling guilty, he avoided his birth mother's gaze. His birth father frowned, it's just $2,000, we'll pay you back the $2,000 when we get the $10,000 population subsidy. Even Chu Chi came out, holding me tightly from behind. Xiao Jiao is already my sister, none of you can take her away. Turning back, tears streamed uncontrollably from my eyes. He scolded me, what are you crying for? You fool, you are really trying hard. Both sides were pulling and arguing loudly, with shoulders tugged, foster mother's hair disheveled, and a button torn off her coat. Alarmed neighbors quickly came forward to protect her. My foster mother gazed emptily at me with disheveled hair, eyes filled with complexity. Do you want to go with him? The birth mother smiled and said, he is my child born after hardships, he will come with me for sure. The birth father also looked embarrassed. I tenderly held my foster mother's hand. I want to stay with you and my brother. The birth parents got excited. None of them was with me, let's all quickly leave my house. The birth father, after raising and nurturing you for 6 or 7 years, was furious and raised his hand to slap me, threatening to beat the ungrateful child to death. He's always been this way, resorting to violence easily, deeply instilling fear in me. I froze, automatically lifting my hand to shield my head. At a critical moment, the stepmother shielded me and firmly slapped him across the face. His face swelled quickly and blood oozed from his mouth as he charged out and slammed into his birth father's stomach. Do you dare to bully me? I'll kill you. With a fiery anger, I bit the birth father's arm. The father hit a woman, and the neighbors couldn't bear to watch. They all rushed up and worked together to control him. The father insisted on disciplining his own son, justifying taking him away regardless of objections. Mother Yang sneered coldly, unafraid, you accepted 2,000 yuan, betraying your own family. Child trafficking is unlawful and punishable by a minimum of 3 to 5 years imprisonment. Lucian quickly nodded and said to his mother, hurry, call the police. The biological father appeared uncertain as he asked, can I legally give away my child? The stepmother stated loudly that accepting money for a transaction equals trafficking, but due to fear of the police, villagers avoid going to the station. Tianqi had taken the guest's phone. The stepmother asked again, is this boy your child? Blaming the biological father, the birth mother smiled awkwardly and admitted, we were wrong, we were wrong. We admit our mistake. The biological father hesitated but yielded to the birth mother's coercion due to his fear of the police. They reached the staircase, and the birth mother, with red eyes, ran back to offer you a small handful of mint candies wrapped in newspaper. I shook my head, didn't take them because these candies are too bitter for my liking. It wasn't until I grew up that I understood. During those 6 years, I thought mint candies tasted good due to experiencing bitterness. However, tasting that bitterness is unnecessary. After the onlookers left, the foster mother stood in front of the bathroom mirror. She removed her coat with missing buttons, combed her disheveled hair meticulously, and gently applied anti-inflammatory cream to her face. She was usually meticulous, but her hair became messy because of me. With puffy cheeks, I felt guilty and softly said, sorry, Aunt. The foster mother's face darkened, mocking, "Call me mom when you need me, aunt when you don't. Are you trying to play a joke?" I hastily explained my concern about you forgetting the ointment, but you just came right to me, scolding me harshly. Calling mom, I looked up at him, his stern expression hardly smiling at me. In the past few months, he has never disturbed me. His bedroom door has never been open to me, and I could always find a place for myself. When we go out, my brother is always taken along, walking through bustling streets, he'd always be there. Afraid I wasn't worthy of his memories, I exclaimed to Mom. My foster mother, with bloodshot eyes, sternly asked, "How many times have I told you not to let people in?" Tears were wiped away and fell to the ground. I nodded heavily. "I'll ask for leave soon, you pack up." My heart skipped a beat. Foster mother. At a glance, I knew your biological parents' location. I will come again next time. I've suffered a big loss being your mom. He is decisive and efficient. That night, we moved into a cleaned vacant house by Shaoshan. Snowflakes silently fell in the winter dusk, the snowy road was slippery, the Santana drove slowly, and everything felt gentler due to the heavy snowfall. Holding my hand with a smile, Shaoshan looked increasingly lovely while I prepared new clothes for the new year, eagerly awaiting your gift. Now that we're closer, you can hang out at Shaoshan's house more often. After those words, Sun-gu and Chu-chi see me differently now. You don't seem to value me or want the red envelopes this year. After dealing with our kids, his stepmother complained that little Uncle Kuhai went to an art academy for studies or was still pursuing becoming a wind chime. We're not getting any younger. None of the Chu family men are reliable, so after moving, we can only wait until next semester to change schools. When I returned to school after the weekend, my classmates were whispering and pointing at me. It turns out he was sold by his biological parents, while I had to bother people to be sold off. My mom won't sell the puppy we raised. His foster father bought him, yet never shows up to take him to school. Surely, he must also dislike him. With no friends from the start, now, I feel like a plague wherever I go. My classmates avoid me and I eagerly leave once school is over with my backpack. Running to the school gate, I smell the familiar snow at Risk Elementary School, and my heart breaks on the white snow. His foster father stands under a snow-covered pine tree holding a large wind chime made of colorful stones, creating a heavenly melody as the stones collide in the falling snow. The wind chime in its hand swayed. "Xiao-ju, this is me. I promised you a gift. There are people at the entrance of our school." The father figure, attracting attention like magic, smiled and pointed at the colorful lollipops on the motorcycle handle. "I'm the dad of elementary school. We're all his friends. If so, you can come and take a candy." The classmates hesitated for a moment, then you bravely came over. "This is from my home, you want it again?" I saw the wind chime's father figure smiling. "This is what I gave to Xiaoju. Would you check if he is willing?" I nodded. Surrounded by a group of unfamiliar faces, I was admired more than just envied. "This wind chime is huge and gorgeous. I really desire one as well. Your father is really kind to you." After a while, Chucky finished school and came over with a serious face, waving his hand to usher us away, saying let's go home next time we meet. Crowd of people. The lollipops in the car were gone, and magically, foster father took out 2 big ones from his pocket and gave them to me and my brother. Fortunately, I'm set to go once everything checks out. Foster father at the front, me in the middle, and my brother at the back. The motorcycle roared, stirring up scattered snow from trees, gently falling on my shoulders. I clung to my foster dad and queried, "Dad, still not home?" Brother still had his luggage on the tail part. Carried by the cold wind, foster father, in anger, said, returning, I found the empty house, doubting my perception. Upon arriving at the new home, the foster father complained about the foster mother moving without a word. Rushing out of the kitchen with a spatula, she exclaimed, "How could I greet you? How could I communicate with you? Did you know my hair was pulled in all directions and I was even slapped?" Tears filled foster mother's eyes as she muttered, "What use is your man?" while heading back to the kitchen. The foster father felt guilty and approached her, despite the stepmother's objections. Entering the kitchen one after the other, they found the door locked. "I'm a bit worried, brother. Dad and mom won't argue, right?" Chu-chi grabbed me and chuckled, saying, "My dad is charming, and my mom is easily pacified." Chu-chi is 4 years older than me, likely experiencing teenage rebellion.